In school, she was an honor student, always making people laugh.
Yeah. Went to the stock car races together.
Oh, I forgot about that, yes.
She was always fun. You know, she loved to hunt, she loved to fish. She was a kidder. I mean, she was always pranking, and her, you know, her love of her life was, you know, Becky and Terry. I mean, she just loved Becky to an unbelievable amount.
Very nice, very likable. I mean, she was always real friendly. She was the first girlfriend that Terry had that my parents liked. You know, she just would do anything for anybody, you know, and she was quirky and funny and would just break out into song.
And the thing that bothered me was she wasn't supposed to be working that day.
Yeah.
Someone called in sick and she went in to work for him, and she wasn't supposed to be working that day. And, I mean, it just eats at you.
We were actually planning a trip up north. I was starting to pack things, and his sister called and said they heard she had been abducted. My mom was concerned about her working at that gas station. And she said, "Mom, don't worry. If they want the money, I'm not going to do anything. They can take the money."
It just didn't happen here. It just didn't happen here. And especially back then. I mean, that's how many years ago? 41? Especially back then.
It's August 5th, 1982. Barbara Nelson was employed at the mini shop and stop town of Albion in Dane County. She responded to a shift. Reports indicate that would have been a 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. shift. And all indications are the initial part of the shift, she had several contacts with people that described that she was doing okay and nothing suspicious was happening.
2 white males had gone into the shop and abducted Barbara Nelson. And during the abduction, they robbed the store. They took cash from the register, and then there was a hidden floor safe as well. And then they left with her in a dark green or dark blue pickup truck.
Stolen from the store were some items from a floor safe and the cash register, under $400 of cash, cashier's check, and various receipts from the store.
Consensus is that it was between 5:30 and 6 o'clock is when everything occurred, but there were no cameras there, of course. There was stuff taken that was beyond money during the robbery. There was a traveler's check. There was some credit card receipts that were taken, so we documented all that. It's unclear as to how long they actually were at the Stop and Shop, but it doesn't sound like it was very quick. It sounds like they were there for a period of time. And so there were people coming and going from the store, witnesses coming and going from the store during the time they were in the store, and Barbara's trying to shoo people away.
Drove out to the gas station and to see what I could find out, and a lot of police out there, but they wouldn't really tell you much. They didn't know much. You know, her car was still there. Her black Mustang was still there, but she wasn't.
They had asked us if she would leave, and we told them she'd never leave without Becky.
You know, their questions when I was out at the gas station was Barb and Terry getting along? You think, you know, they were fighting? Would she have got mad and left? And then, you know, I just kept telling them, no, not without Becky. that would have never have happened. You know, they kept repeating the same questions, and another detective would come over. And the following day, 2 days later, the FBI showed up and went through the same type of questions. And 3 of them interviewed me out there for the same questions. I finally asked them, why are you all asking the same questions? They said, to see if you're giving the same answers and make sure that, you know, that you're being upfront with us. And but they were there, I think, a day and a half, the FBI.
And they put up a plane or a helicopter to scan the area.
Had that infrared on it to scan all the farm fields and things. They were looking for heat signatures to see if they could see a body out there.
I remember the shock of finding out that Barbie'd been abducted. Just, it was like, I couldn't believe it. You know, I just, overwhelming. I can't even explain it. At the time, the little convenience store she worked at, I was working in a convenience store at exactly the same time, just one exit south of it. And all I could think of was, wow, that's really close. That's somebody I not only know, but that's really close.
But I do know when I found out, we were like everybody in our own little town, we were just, could not believe it, shocked, like how could this happen? And oh my goodness, that night everybody kind of gathered at the convenience store. I just remember the people being there, and I myself, the one thing I remember the most was just standing and then just remembering the cornfields, the rustling of the cornfields, just that empty, oh my goodness feeling, yeah.
Just the wonder of where she could be, who could have done this, how did this happen, why Barb, why, how someone we knew in Little Edgerton, you know, it just didn't make sense. It made absolutely no sense.
That we drove around. We did driving around too, you know, but you don't even know which direction to go in, you know, and there's so many people and everybody kind of just scattered, you know, and went all over.
We drove for miles and miles and miles in that area and you know, checking ditches, barns, you know, anything that looked where her body might be or she might be. And it was one of those situations where, geez, we hope we find her, but we're afraid of what we're going to find. We went to one barn, old barn next to the road, and we were going to walk in and we smelled a real terrible odor. And we were actually afraid to go in there and look because we were afraid what we're going to find, but we did go in there. It was actually a dead raccoon, and it was I mean, that was scary.
It was hard because I remember, the one thing I do remember, the interview with Terry on the TV and little Becky, like bouncing around on, you know, just being a little toddler. And I just remember Terry trying to focus and trying to speak to the media.
Reports indicate that the FBI was involved in this investigation fairly soon, potentially as early as the next day. Numerous other law enforcement agencies helped in these days. Rock County Sheriff's Office, Wisconsin State Patrol, Edgerton Police Department.
You know, you were hopeful at first that, you know, she would find her alive, and then after a couple of days, it started getting to the point where, you know, it's not looking good. And I mean, I think I probably put on over 1,000 miles in 4 days, driving around looking.
a lot of sitting at their house just waiting to hear from somebody, you know, anything. The detectives, of course, told us what they knew when they knew it, you know, but it was just a lot of waiting, and there was just no way of knowing where she was. You know, there just was no way.
And we were just trying to figure out who could have done it or why. And the only thing that made any sense to me through this whole thing had to be somebody who knew her. Why would they take her? And if they were going to kill her, why wouldn't they kill her right there and leave? It's the only thing that made any sense at all.
When it's so bizarre, it's just so... The only thing I can justify, the only way I can justify is it had to be somebody she recognized. Why else would they take her? Why not just, you know, take the money or whatever they wanted? Why?
So where were you August 10th?
He was out, you were over at Terry's,
I
you
was
said.
sitting in Barb and Terry's living room and waiting for the news to come on, and they had breaking news that they found a body on Bray Road in Walworth County, believed to be Barbara Nelson.
So you weren't told, you found
No.
out through...
Through the
Right.
news.
But no one had called us and told us. I don't think they called Terry,
No.
did they?
No, you didn't know.
Nope.
At the beginning, nobody, you know, it was just confusing. It was just totally crazy. And then, you know, when they found her and, you know, you just didn't know what to think. You know, was there somebody around that was, you know, gonna kill other people? So many rumors, so many, you know, it affected everything. I mean, it didn't happen here.
I guess the numbness you felt during that week was intensified afterwards, because I mean there was relief too, but then there's like, God, she's gone. I mean, before that there was a little hope, a little glimmer, you know, that she could be found, you know, you just, not slight as it may be, it was there.
So August 10th, somebody mowing for the township discovered Barbara's body. It was on Bray Road by a cornfield. The investigation indicates that Barbara was most likely killed on the side of the road several feet from where the body was discovered and then dragged into the cornfield. The body had been in the August heat for several days and was decomposed, plus had some injuries.
We were taken over to Walworth County by the Dean County deputy. I don't even remember his name. He took us over. And we were going to identify the body, and they wouldn't let us. So
They said it was in so bad a shape that they didn't want us to see it. They didn't want Mary to see her sister like that.
So then they came over the next day, I believe, and brought her wedding ring. And I told them that was definitely her ring. And they said they did not know how they were going to identify her. And I told them, I said, she had a baby. Her thumbprint's going to be on Becky's birth certificate. So that's, along with the ring, is how they identified her as far as I know.
I do remember cops coming to our house, my dad being very upset, sitting in his chair and going to the door and kind of sending me to my room when the cops were at the door. But other than that, I really don't remember much.
Did you recall them calling your parents?
No, I had to call my parents.
It was frustrating because we'd call and try to talk to detectives, leave questions, and we'd never hear back from them. I mean,
I don't remember myself getting many of the details, you know, just like I said, whoever detective showing up and letting us know what was going on when. You always think that they should be doing more, you know, because you want answers quicker. I think they dropped the ball.
Well, it's hard because there were so many rumors. So we didn't know, you know, what was rumors, what was true, what was, you know, factual. Until the composite sketches came out, you know, we were all kind of just talk and okay, could it be this? Do you think this is what happened? Do you think, you know, every person was looked at, everybody. I mean, her husband, everybody, because we didn't know. We did not know.
There's no information indicating where she was during the 24 hours, other than to say she was on that road where she was found outside of Elkhorn. And again, that's a rural area next to cornfields. We've been trying to narrow that down. We would like to know where she was. We just don't have any information. There's no reports.
I guess another thing that amazes me about when they took her, they had her for 24 hours. What was their thought? Where did they take her? Someone should have seen something. It was all over the news. They had to stop somewhere. They had to.
They had to be at someone's house.
Absolutely.
You know, I guess that's the one thing I prayed, is that it was real quick for her, and to find out today that it was 20 hours she was alive. I can just hear her begging, like any mother would. She loved Becky so much. And I can't imagine the hell of 20 hours.
This is very unique when you start comparing it to other cases. So she was found August 10th, but looked to be killed August 6th. So this would have been about a 24-hour period where she was missing. This does not seem to be common when you compare it to other crimes.
A girl who was in the mini store, 12-year-old girl who was in the mini store before 5:40, she came forward to say that she saw this truck pull in, and she described someone who was in the mini store when she was in there. She was in there buying candy. She had biked there from where she lives close by. And she saw this guy come in, acting kind of suspiciously, saw him looking around. He looked in the women's bathroom. She bought candy and left. That was the last she saw.
The primary witness who actually witnessed the suspect vehicle, which is the blue or green truck, she described it as a Chevy, older Chevy pickup truck that sat higher off the ground. Almost, in her mind, it was a four-wheel drive vehicle with big tires. She had seen the two guys go into the store between this time. And one of them went into the female bathroom, and she also saw one of them talking with Barbara Nelson.
Another person came forward who said he pulled into the mini store to get gas sometime shortly before 5:40 p.m. on August 5th. Two people appeared in the doorway of the mini store, Barbara and someone roughly matching the description of one of the people that's in those sketches, who was standing right behind Barbara. And she said, "Sorry, we're out of gas." So he left. Constable from Albion Township shows up. No Barbara. Her purse is there. Paycheck is in her purse. She got, the owner's wife handed her the paycheck that day. So her purse is there with the paycheck in it. I think maybe even her shoes might have been there. Her car is there. She drove a black Mustang. That's there. One couple was driving after work to meet some friends at a bar. They saw a truck near the mini store with 3 people inside, driving erratically, forced them into the ditch.
Someone called in that they had seen someone fight in an old pickup truck. Would have made sense. They could have jumped on the interstate and went down towards, got off towards Beloit and went down to Bass Creek Road. Yeah. And the thing that really shook me up is if that would have happened, she'd have went right by our house. Or, I mean, the interstate's right here. I mean, it just sticks in your mind like.
When I started investigating this, and one of the things that became public when I wrote about it, because the police told me about it and told me I could write about it, was where that couple got ran into the ditch by 3 people in a truck was on a back road away from the mini store. And it's kind of the back way into Newville, which is this little community, little hamlet right by Lake Koshinong, the lake I mentioned earlier, east of Edgerton. You can get there by a main highway or a main town road, and that's how most people get to Newville. But there is the back way down this little road, and nobody knew to use that road to get to Newville who either wasn't from the area or hadn't been through there often. A woman, this may have been made public too. I've certainly written about it since I got involved. A woman was driving across that bridge. She looked up in her rearview mirror and saw them in that truck. And that was the last anybody saw of them until the next day, which is when Rose saw them.
It started with a robbery, of course, and then an abduction, and then they transported her to another county 40 miles away. And the following day, she was seen by a passing witness on a road outside of Elkhorn, 40 miles away from where she was abducted, struggling with 2 suspects, described as white males, behind a pickup truck on the side of the road, or actually parked in the road is what I think was reported. During the 5 to 6 o'clock hour, August 6th. Of August 6th, yes.
A woman saw a truck matching the description of the truck seen at the mini store, and 2 guys matching the description of the guys seen at the mini store, and a person matching the description of Barbara over by Elkhorn, right where her body was found. And she saw them about 24 hours later after the abduction happened. Didn't come to light right away because the woman had been going to the airport to go on vacation for a week or 2. Well, what she saw was she was driving down Bray Road, which is the road where Barbara's body was found in the cornfield by the ditch. She was driving and she sees a truck and 2 guys fighting or struggling with a short person. She thought it was a child or maybe some sort of domestic dispute. She sees those 2 men, or one of them, grab this 3rd person, throw that person in the truck. The 2 men get in the truck, pull the truck out in front of her, do a U-turn, stop on the other side of the road, and then she goes past. So what that means is she got a really good look at that truck. She saw the front of it, she saw the side of it, she saw the back of it, she saw the other side of it. But that was on the afternoon of August 6th, so almost 24 hours after she was abducted. And almost certainly they shot and killed Barbara shortly thereafter.
We believe that maybe Barbara, the evidence suggests that Barbara maybe tried to get away and she was fighting with the people that took her from the gas station and held her for the last 24 hours. I think she was fighting for her life. There's gunshot wounds to her. There's a gunshot wound in several spots, indicating maybe a defensive, trying to fight them off, and got shot through the hand and then in the chest. I mean, it would suggest that she was trying to get away, is what it would suggest. And in the process, she was shot.
Cause of death was determined to be that she was shot several times, potentially 3 times, and also beaten. The bullet wounds, one was in the wrist, one ended up being towards the back, and there was some indications that Barbara may have been shot in the head area. However, from reports, it does not appear that a bullet was found in the face area. The weapon would have been a .25 caliber handgun. Investigation indicates that this would have been a semi-automatic handgun. Barbara was found wearing underwear, a bra, and what would be described as a vest or a smock. The underwear and bra were Barbara's. The smock was not Barbara's.
So she was wearing it's been referred to as a black smock, button down that did not belong to her. So we've been trying to figure out where that black smock came from, of course. We've tried to figure out if it's a common uniform that's used by area businesses or where it came from.
You also had a shirt found near the crime scene. It looks more consistent to me to be a chemical stain on a shirt. It's a blue shirt, was a blue shirt, JCPenney brand. It had various white stains on it. This was found near the scene of where Barbara was found, and it had blood on it. That's investigation has either determined or believes to be Barbara's blood. We believe that this is our suspect's shirt.
Apron we're not sure about, but it was in the same vicinity of the crime scene.
So that apron was found at the scene where Barbara was found. And we believe there's a likelihood that that apron is associated with our suspects. So the diamond rings were not recovered. And I hate being too descriptive about this, just out of respect, but one of the ears also was kind of significantly damaged. Did somebody take these diamond earrings? I would say it's very, very likely. Why would they leave a wedding ring? Yes, well, so her sandals were found at a different scene, and they are believed to be her shoes. There was a second crime scene discovered, and I want to say this is approximately 3 weeks later. But it's a road several miles from the location, and it was a second crime scene, and it had sandals there, duct tape, various other items there. It's consistent that this was potentially, it was thrown about in a way that potentially was thrown from a vehicle. That the car jack was found at that second scene. Why was the car jack there? Was it because they were changing a tire? Was it because people were disposing of items from their vehicle and just throwing them out and this got out? At this point, we can't say why the car jack would have been there. Again, Barbara was out in the elements for several days. Indications are it had rained a couple times. Wisconsin is humid in August. That all affected the ability to investigate whether or not a sexual assault had occurred.
We don't have information or evidence to suggest that she was sexually assaulted, other than to say that she was partially clothed with a black smock over her that was not hers, and she was in her underwear. And she was held for 24 hours before she was seen by the passing witness on the road that she was located in the cornfield. So.
Why did they keep her? Why don't they take her, shoot her that day, shoot her that night? Where do they take her? I think anyone who spends any time learning and thinking about this case, where did they take her? Was this pre-planned? Did they have a place where they knew they were going to take her? Did they improvise? If so, where did they take her? They had to be somewhere for 20 hours. There's lots of abandoned farmhouses in that area. It would not be hard. Oh my God, we've now got to go hide for 20 hours. But they had her somewhere, and the notion that nobody saw them in that 20 hours between when the couple gets ran off the road on August 5th and when Rose happens upon that struggle in the ditch on Bray Road on August 6th, the fact that nobody saw them, somebody had to have seen them. They just don't know what they saw, or they're unwilling to come forward and talk about it.
We spent a lot of time reading about somewhat similar crimes, and it's just, it is unique. Why would you rob a place during rush hour? Why would they take her if it was a robbery? Why would they keep her for 24 hours? These are all very good questions and things that we look into and consider when we're looking into this investigation.
Yeah, I was thinking they had to be locals that knew the area, that knew her.
And why for $30 or $50, why would someone take someone and kill them? I mean, something just, like Mary said, it's almost someone who knew them, or she knew them, or you know, they're familiar with, you know.
I've not had a case like this. This is very different. It seems very unusual. We've tried to find other cases that are similar. There are some in other states that we've located, and so far we haven't connected those suspects to Wisconsin in this particular area of Dane County in Edgerton.
That's always been one of the vexing questions. Why did they hang on to her for 20 hours, right? So the bigger ontological or almost epistemological question is, why did they take her in the first place? Like, you know, go and rob the place and either leave with the money or shoot the person there. Why take her?
So regarding the investigation after Barbara was identified, leads were followed up on. I mean, the way things would have been handled in '82, of course, is different than now, and that not better or worse, it's just different. So I know just from reading reports, of course, they looked at sex offenders in the area, people that were recently released from prison. They had bulletins going out to law enforcement agencies, I believe statewide, but certainly within the area, to be on the lookout for a vehicle that was similar to the one witnesses had described. Talking to people from the area, I mean, hundreds of interviews were done, and after this, during this time period. And at some point, they did release a composite sketch of a vehicle and potential suspects. There's several witnesses that were in the area that described this truck. A blue or green pickup truck. One is a 6-foot bed, and it has a specific grill of interest. The railing on the back is unique to it in that numerous witnesses describe that the railing frequently, they're 90 degrees. So they come up and they go straight out. This, if you look at the drawings, is at 45-degree angle. We have kind of looked at a lot of Studebaker trucks, as that seems to be consistent with this truck. Some witnesses, it could be all, but I know some described that on the driver's side door, there was what appeared to like there maybe was a sign in there at one point. It was kind of faded in a square shape. A lot of persons of interest would have been identified from association with a similar vehicle. Might get it started. Past criminal history, potentially associations, not necessarily with Barbara, but of places that she may have connections to, and information that people put forward. The police sketches, a lot of people resemble them. We've gotten a lot of tips that people look exactly like the composite drawings.
2 white guys, 5'10" to 6'1", medium build, unshaven, shaggy hair. That's half of Edgerton in 1982. A lot of pickup trucks in Edgerton. It's a farm and factory town, a lot of pickup trucks. I don't know whose all interviews those sketches were taken from. I'm assuming it's Candy Girl, which isn't her name, that's just what I've taken to call her. The guy whose name was Peterson, who came in looking for gas and was told that there wasn't gas by the man standing behind Barbara. I'm assuming it's from the couple that was ran into the ditch, maybe even from the woman who saw them crossing. I'm assuming it's from Rose, who is now dead but was, alive in time for the sketch to be made. The thing that's always interested me about those sketches is there's a date and initials on there for authentication purposes. The date's important. The date is 9/1/82. It's written right across the sketch. So September 1, '82 is when those sketches were made. They were not released to the public that I can tell looking through the newspaper archive until a press conference that was held on September 15th. I will say that you had two counties involved, right? You had Dane County, which is where the abduction occurred. You had Walworth County, which is where the body was found and where the murder almost certainly occurred. And anytime you have two jurisdictions, even if it's two counties as opposed to two states or two nations, it's, there's going to be some bureaucratic stuff going on, and it's going to be harder to proceed than if it were just one county. I think the FBI was involved for a while too, so maybe there was 2.5 jurisdictions involved, right? And, maybe that's why the press conference wasn't held till 2 weeks after the sketch was finished.
I have not heard anything from Deb and Carl, the store owners. It's made me curious as to why they never kept in touch with me or the family, or really posted anything at the store, did any effort to really help with the case. I've never seen any effort from them, and I've always wondered about that. In my opinion, if I owned a business and something like that happened, I would feel somewhat responsible. I would want to help. I would want it resolved. I would show that I care. There's none of that. There's nothing there, and it's definitely makes me wonder why.
I'm trying to decide if I'm willing to say on camera what I told you she told me when I went and talked to her.
Deb Court?
Yeah. There's just, without a lot of context, people could take what she told me the wrong way, the same way I did. Because you may recall what she told me was, I don't want to talk about it, it was a bad time in my life, it could have been me. That's what she told me. What does that mean?
At the time of the investigation on August 5th, and through the course of the next several years, there have been so many witness contacts and license plates run and people run looking for criminal histories, somebody that might match the suspect. There's literally thousands of pages of reports. And this is not solved for a lack of effort. This is just a case that we need more information on.
Many, quite hundreds of people probably ruled out. I mean, the net was huge. So there's been a lot of people contacted that have cooperated with this, and we have persons of interest today. By all accounts, Barbara was absolutely not involved in anything nefarious, did not have people that did not like her, was clearly not involved in anything that would have resulted in this.
No, we couldn't think of anybody. That's the first thing I asked Terry, if anybody he knew was mad at him and trying to get even with him. We couldn't think of anyone.
There wasn't anybody I didn't think of. Everybody had their own theory. It's not necessarily that I thought it was Terry, but I'm telling you, his name was thrown around in the community more than, I'm sure Terry even ever realized.
He struggled. My dad really struggled. He struggled trying to talk to me about my mom without getting upset. It was very hard for him even to discuss it and tell me what happened, and what he remembered was difficult.
When you're the husband, it's like his whole world is just turned upside down, He was in shock, cried. There was a lot of that going on for sure. He was definitely a mess. And it's just sad that he never got any closure, with it.
Do I think Terry didn't know? Will I question it for the rest, until, because I don't have any answers.
That was one of the rumors I came across at the time, was that he was somehow involved. But I came across a lot of rumors about this, which is, you know, par for the course in a small town when this sort of thing happens, I think. I never considered him, given what I knew, to be a person of interest. I don't think the police do any longer, but I don't know why he was ruled out.
There's no information to indicate that Terry had anything to do with this. I think he lost his wife, and I think the reports that we received is that he was taking her death very, very hard.
Was he cooperative with the police?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, he was very cooperative with police, for sure.
John, and because I'm so used to last names, which we're not going to use, John and
Ronald.
John and Ronald both grew up in the Edgerton area. Both were involved, allegedly, in illegal activities at the time, including drugs. John, allegedly, was a low-level drug dealer, allegedly carried a pistol. I'm told he moved away after this happened to another state. And he still lives in the area. I've seen him. I went to a rummage sale at his house.
He was a different sort of person. He was friends with my brother. Yeah, he wasn't a very good person.
Ronald.
I'm trying to avoid last names.
Yeah, no,
but,
yeah.
If you slip up, we can.
No, I won't slip up. I won't slip up.
Okay.
So Ronald grew up in a subdivision of Newville. Newville is a little hamlet outside of Edgerton, east of Edgerton. It's where the Highway 59 bridge crosses the Rock River at the last place. Barbara was seen in that truck on August 5th. There's some housing developments along the lake. One of those is called Mallwood. Mallwood Estates, I think is the actual name. Barbara grew up there. Ronald and his family grew up there. Ronald was from a family, by all accounts, with a lot of siblings. I'm told the parents weren't home a lot. The kids were left to fend for themselves. Not a good situation. And so less adult supervision. Mallwood was the place where kids started drinking and smoking and making out a little sooner than they did maybe in Edgerton or a suburb up here in Madison where you have mom stays at home, right? It was that kind of place. That's where Ronald and his siblings grew up. A lot of his brothers have extensive criminal records. Ronald has an extensive criminal record. He was known, I'm told, to hang around with John back then, and I'm told he knew Barbara back then, and I'm told he had a thing for Barbara, whatever that means. I got the sense from the people who gave me those names that that was stuff they'd heard, rumor, talk around the bar, or because they looked like the sketches. That's the impression I got as to why they were, why those two names floated right to the surface, like within 2 weeks of me beginning to talk to people that were around back then.
It would have been the top right one. That one kind of looks like Ronnie did back in the day, you know.
You knew him back then?
Yeah.
Did you know his family?
Yeah, there was a bunch of them that ran around. I dated one of them. Well, I don't know if you can really call it dating. You know, we just partied and whatever. You know, whatever was the 70s. I don't know. That's all I can say. But the family was kind of. There was a lot of boys. There was like 14 boys and one girl, and the girl ended up she got taken out of there by CPS. So Ronnie was in jail for killing his brother, but it was kind of an accidental thing.
I know he's incarcerated somewhere in Wisconsin. I don't know where, but he is incarcerated after being convicted of, I believe, manslaughter for killing his brother in what, by all accounts, was a drunken argument.
They supposedly got into a fight over a girl, and Ronnie pushed him out his apartment door, but there wasn't a landing for the stairs, and Tracy lost his balance and fell down the stairs, and whatever, he broke his neck or whatever. And Ronnie was, I guess, drunk because that's what they do. But he tried burying him in the backyard. And then he ended up calling the cops.
You know, if you can kill your brother that you grew up with. Ronnie just really jumped out at me. And I mean, the Horan family is a very, I'm tight with a lot of them. I mean, my husband was his older brother's best friend. They were best friends. My grandson is named after him. I mean, so, and that's Ronnie's brother. Could it be some of the other ones? They all looked alike. Yeah, it could have been. But to me, it was just Ronnie. It was taken to them later, but not at the time. I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't, but I guess, you know, I was young and dumb too. And you hate to believe that stuff about people that you've known for your whole life. You know, hindsight's 20/20 now. I look back, if he could kill his brother, he could kill anybody. It couldn't have been more blatant to me who it was. This is a very small neighborhood. It's a name that's been thrown around a lot. You know, there's been lots of names thrown around. There's been Suga, Mark Gullickson, which is just, I find crazy. There's been the Horan boys. It just, you know, and somebody said just today, you know, it's always the ones you least expect.
I'll be careful what I say about Roland, because his name I got from the police. And ditto with Jeff, because his name I also got from the police. I will say that Jeff is dead and Roland is still alive. Saw some pictures that appeared to have been made of him around the time of this crime. He looks like one of the sketches. He looks a lot like one of the sketches, but it's a sketch. He has a extensive criminal record. Jeff and Roland were roommates at the time that this happened in what I assume was a rental house in Afton, which is a little hamlet south of Janesville along a creek called Bass Creek. Shortly, I don't know how many days after Barbara was abducted, I think it was after her body was found, some lawman and his wife, or just his wife, was walking along Bass Creek Road in Afton and spied in the ditch or on the side of the road a woman's blouse. And she liked it, and it was in good shape, so she figured, I'm gonna take this and wear it. She took it home and washed it. And I believe Mary, Barbara's sister, said that's her blouse. That's the blouse she was wearing, and I can even smell the perfume on it even though it's been washed. So the police believe, and I believe, that that's almost certainly Barbara's blouse. And that was found about a mile from where Jeff and Roland were living at the time in Afton.
So Janesville is south of the gas station, and I want to say the drive is maybe 30 minutes, probably 45 minutes where she was, because where the blouse is found is southern Janesville. And so I didn't look at the exact numbers, but it's probably between 30 and 40 miles. That is odd. And so I guess you could look at it different ways. It may or may not be her blouse, but the family seems confident that it was her blouse.
Bass Creek Road, I mean, I've been out there a lot. I used to know someone who lived out there. He was related to one of the suspects, actually, and it was, I don't think it was a coincidence. It was that close to that person's house.
The town employee who found the body is Bruce Barker.
So he was with the highway department. Yes, Lafayette Highway Department.
He was definitely talked to, and you want to consider the person that found the body. But I would just say this, I mean, Bruce found the body, and you want to consider the person that had the body. The investigation did not focus on Bruce. I think it's safe to say.
And then obviously Bruce Barker found Barbara Nelson.
Correct.
And was he supposed to be in that area mowing?
It doesn't seem, and that's a good question and something we've definitely looked at. It seems it does not seem unusual that he would have been mowing that area. It does not. We cannot find any indication it was unusual for him to be mowing that area.
Obviously, Bruce Barker has since passed. Were you ever able to talk to him before he passed?
We did not. I don't think anybody currently involved in this or like the previous people like right before us, I don't think they did. It doesn't seem like there was anything unusual there. When he's reporting he found Barbara versus when he called it in, nothing stands out as odd with that. Bruce was not fitting like our composite or our age or anything at that time. Now he had relatives that could have, obviously, but so I don't know.
Were any other Barkers talked to at the time? Were Scott and Jeff talked to at the time?
I don't recall. I don't remember if they were or not.
Okay. With Bruce Barker in particular, his record and then his brother Richard's record, is there any suspicion of Richard Barker at all?
I mean, that's always the kind of thing that it really can't really comment on. I mean, we don't, we're not identifying persons of interest or even acknowledging their suspects. I can just say that, information led us to want to talk to the Barkers. We certainly talked to several Barkers that were cooperative when we talked to them.
And it seems that Bruce's property and Richard's property were within 1 mile of where Barbara was found.
Yeah.
Well, in particular, I wanted to talk about his sister-in-law finding her body.
Okay.
Can you confirm whether or not he located his sister-in-law's body as well? Because I have here listed that she died in a hit and run, and it's still unknown what happened exactly. And then also that Bruce Barker's brother, Richard Barker, who was married to this woman, had 2 charges involving hit and runs.
I can't confirm that. If it was if the other finding the other body was even substantiated or not, I can't say for sure that it was.
And then Bruce Barker has 12 counts of child pornography, and that child pornography, that was family members, correct?
So I just know he had a significant history and that it was that type of offense. I can't recall. You're saying that the pornography involved family members?
I believe so.
I just can't say for sure. I know that there is information about him being involved with the discovery of another body. I seem to be recalling something else revolving a hit and run.
Is it the hit and run of the young boy?
Yes.
And that happened on Bruce Barker's property, correct?
I think it was a roadway.
Is there any indication that Bruce Barker could have been involved in that?
I know we definitely heard, I don't know if a rumor is the right word, but this information. So I can't confirm that's even true at this point.
Okay. Seeing that there are a couple of, instances of him potentially finding dead bodies, would you consider him a suspect at all in your guys' investigation?
I can say that, the thing about Bruce is he would have been significantly older than the 1 to 2 males that were consistently identified in this case. I mean, we talked to many of the Barkers.
Does that include Scott and Jeff?
I believe so. Just information led us to talk to them.
Has Walworth mentioned at all that they are looking into the Barkers?
Well, we worked when we talked to the Barkers, we were with Walworth.
And when exactly did you guys go talk to them?
Okay, it looks like it was about 4 years ago, 3.5, 4 years.
There is somebody that really believe potentially that people were involved in the Barker family, and we have talked to that person and followed up on that information. We had quite a bit of contact, was not able to give us information to go farther.
But that's kind of where we're at with that.
Why do they let it go so long? I have very little hope of the case ever being solved. It would be nice, but I would be absolutely surprised. One of my big questions is, what would they need to make somebody stand trial now?
Looking back at a case from the 80s that didn't have the same tools that we would have now, I can't answer why I don't think it's been solved. I think some really, really good leads were found. Some interesting people were talked to and looked at. If you have an unsolved homicide from the 80s, we had and have a lot of evidence that other cases wouldn't have. So I'm hopeful we can utilize that to be able to definitively show who did this.
There's a bit of a hometown pride and kind of a chip on my shoulder about this. And that is, damn it, somebody came into the town where I grew up and did this. I'm the kind of person that has an intense personality. I get really interested in something and I go deep and get what I need from it and then move on to other things. And I haven't gotten what I needed from this particular interest because the case still remains unsolved. And so I spent, 10, 15 hours a week for a couple of years researching this, going to junkyards, looking for trucks. Silly when you think about it. I mean, that truck is probably long gone, but just trying to do anything I could to help to move this along.
I feel it greatly impacted our family. It hurt a lot of people, and it continues to affect our family. I think our family relationships and connections are not there with some of the family because we're missing a piece. I do hear from Coy periodically. He'll message when something's coming up and kind of keep me in the loop. I, of course, always hope that the case will get solved. I do think that people know. There are people out there that know, without a doubt, that just haven't come forward.
DNA is where most of our investigatory efforts are at right now. So I think that's, I'm hopeful with that. Walworth County Sheriff's Office, Dane County Sheriff's Office have worked very much together to try to get some of these items to get tested, and not necessarily for the first time. I should say retested or looked at again. The Wisconsin State Crime Lab, very involved. Department of Criminal Investigation, Wisconsin, and we continue to work with staff from the FBI as well that have been great. There are people that remain persons of interest today, and we, in some cases, either have their DNA or maybe a family member's DNA for a genealogy, and continue to really focus on the DNA in this case.
So far there hasn't been anything. I think the key thing here is that we would need some sort of DNA or full confession from somebody. And so we really need more help. We need somebody to come forward, because it's hard for me to believe that you have two young suspects, as they are in this case, and if they're still alive, that nobody has either talked about this between the two of them, mentioned it to somebody else, whether it be after they were maybe arrested for something else or incarcerated, convicted for something else, spent some time in prison. These people seem like they probably not the first time they've done this, or maybe if it was the first time, maybe they did it again. So obviously we'd like to connect the dots, so to speak, and still solve this case.
What blows my mind is, how did these two people keep it quiet for all that time? And I don't think they did. I think somebody else out there knows something.
I am hopeful that the person and persons involved in this will see something like this and realize that not only what they did was horrific, they left a young child without a mom, a husband without a wife, and just see and be like, it's time to give the family some closure.
We want to solve this case as soon as possible. It's been 40 years, but we're still going and we're still working on it, so.